Hello everyone, in today's video we are going to discuss the conspiracy theory that suggests that Elvis Presley is alive and that he never actually died in 1977. Are you ready to dive into this conspiracy? Let's get to it. On the 16th of August 1977, Elvis Presley was found unresponsive on his bathroom floor by his fiancée Ginger Alden. At 3:30 p.m. that same day, he was pronounced dead at the Baptist Memorial Hospital. He was 42 years old. His funeral was held at Graceland on August 18th, 1977, just 2 days after his death, and his body was later buried next to his mother's at Forest Hill Cemetery. Okay, so this sounds pretty cut and dry to me. However, I was thinking, why would this conspiracy come about that he, in fact, didn't die? And it may be the fact that he died at 42 years old, which is incredibly young, and that may have been the seed that planted this conspiracy theory. The conspiracy theory puts forward that the first notable sighting of Elvis Presley was at the Memphis International Airport on the day he reportedly died. A man resembling Elvis was spotted purchasing a one-way ticket to Buenos Aires, Argentina, using the name John Burroughs, which was the alias used by Elvis whenever he was booking hotels. This is believed by some to be a clue that Elvis was in fact alive. So the fact that someone reportedly spotted a man who resembled Elvis at the airport using a name that has been known that Elvis uses an alias is a little bit So I want to get further into this theory, so let's continue. On what would have been Elvis's 82nd birthday, a man was spotted at Graceland with a bushy beard, sunglasses, and a black hat. People on the Elvis is Alive Facebook page believed that this man could in fact be Elvis Presley. Another clue to support this theory is a scene from the popular Christmas film Home Alone. In the scene where Kate McAllister is trying to purchase a plane ticket, a man resembling Elvis can be seen in the background, causing speculation that Elvis was in fact alive. Okay, the Home Alone situation. Why would he appear in Home Alone if Elvis was trying to, fake his death? So if Elvis in fact did fake his death, there would have to be a reason. He would have been incredibly successful, wealthy, rich, was about to get married. Why would Elvis Presley choose to fake his death? So let's get into what the conspiracy theory says. In a 1988 book called Is Elvis Alive?, written by Gail Brewer Giorgio, she explained that after looking at tons of FBI documents, she had concluded that Presley had to go into hiding into witness protection after the FBI enlisted him to help take down a criminal organization called the Fraternity. Elvis had to fake his own death when he was found to be a mole. Brewer Giorgio told Time, Elvis faked his death because he was going to be killed, and there was no doubt about it. We are going to dive into the other side of these stories, but my instant thought is, why would the FBI recruit one of the most famous people to go undercover? Unless they were, using Elvis Presley through his connections and he was somehow helping them. I thought this was kind of wild, but there's actually more to get into regarding this, so we're just gonna keep unpacking this theory. Let's continue. Another clue to support this conspiracy theory is the gravestone of Elvis Presley. It is considered by some to be a clue that Elvis is still alive. The tombstone reads Elvis Aaron Presley, and the clue is in the spelling of his middle name. Although the spelling on the tombstone is correct, Elvis allegedly used the spelling A-R-O-N throughout his life so that it could be closer to his stillborn twin brother's name, Jesse Garon Presley. But for some fans, the spelling of a double A is a sign that the spelling was an indication that it wasn't actually the real Elvis. Hearing this one, to me, this one doesn't hold much weight. Lots of people change the spelling of their names throughout their life and may not necessarily do it legally. So personally, hearing this, I'm just eh. But I think it's time to hear the other side of these sightings and these clues because, we want to try to get a whole picture of this. Regarding the first sighting of Elvis purchasing a one-way ticket to Buenos Aires was enough to catapult the theory that Elvis is alive. However, it was found that at the time of 1977, Memphis International Airport didn't have any direct flights to Buenos Aires, making the claim that Elvis Presley was fleeing to Buenos Aires difficult to believe. So I think logically that debunks that. However, I understand you could say Elvis Presley was a celebrity, he could have pulled some strings, he could have paid extra cash. My thought is there would be footage of this. Like, even to this date, like so many years on, perhaps that footage would have come out to show he was at the airport purchasing these tickets. But to me, this logic of there weren't international flights would have debunked this to me personally. However, I am going to put a pin in the use of the name John Burroughs. That's going to come up later, so just hold on to that thought. On the celebration of Elvis' 82nd birthday, a man was spotted in the crowd at Graceland, believed to be the king of rock and roll himself. This photo was posted and shared by Facebook group Evidence Elvis Presley is Alive, raising the question, could this be Elvis? The only logic I managed to find supporting this was that they believed the man looked like what Elvis would. I can only use the same sort of argument and logic and look at this photo and think this man looks nothing what I assume Elvis would look. I think the nose is smaller, different facial structure. I honestly think it's just some random guy. I just don't buy it. I'm sorry. In the Home Alone scene mentioned earlier, some believe that Elvis Presley was the extra in the background. When asked about this, one of the executive producers, Tarquin Gotch, commented, "I have no idea what motivated that. He doesn't look anything like Elvis. It's an absolute no." However, cinematographer Julio Mackett shared a different view. He said, "Well, if Elvis was, it was not planned. As far as that, I would not disregard the Elvis theory." However, in 2018, this theory was further explored by a blog going by the name of Skeptical Inquirer. After some research, the extra in the scene was alleged to be a man named Gary Grott. At this point in time, Gary had passed away, so the man's son was contacted for confirmation on his father's role in Home Alone. The son did confirm that his father was in fact the extra in the Home Alone scene. So being able to see the photos of the man who was Gary Grott and how people were saying that this man was allegedly Elvis, I buy it. I think this was this man and I don't think it was Elvis at all. In reference to this comment by the cinematographer, it's interesting that one was like, that's clearly not Elvis, and another one was like, well, maybe it is. Now, this next one, the one about Elvis being in the FBI, sent me down a little bit of a rabbit hole, so I'm just going to share that with you now. Gail Brewer Giorgio puts forward the idea that Elvis was an FBI informant and had to be put into the witness protection program, which resulted in his fake death. There are FBI documents on Presley that are available to the public. So I did a search through these documents and I was unable to find any of the names or crime organizations that were mentioned. Very possible that this author had access to documents that were not just public but privately, but I just wanted to show how to search and none of these names popped up. I couldn't find anything for the vanity. However, I did stumble upon a Washington Post article dated back to 1978 where M.A. Jones, a chief of research in the FBI's Crime Records Division, wrote a memo to his boss back in 1970. And here are some of the excerpts or things he said way back in 1970. Regarding Elvis Presley, he said, "Should the FBI ever need Presley's service," Jones wrote, "Presley could be contacted under the pseudonym of Colonel John Burroughs." John Burroughs, the same name that was used in that apparent first sighting of Elvis purchasing the ticket to go international, to fly overseas. And so in my mind, I was like, oh, so it's kind of legit that Elvis Presley used John Burroughs as an alias. And the first sighting was a man using the name John Burroughs. This article that shows the memo was posted in 1978. Elvis passed away in 1977. So if this alleged sighting wasn't real, then the person who made the alleged sighting must have known that Elvis used the name as John Burroughs to add some legitimacy to it. Or you could also argue, well, that means it really was Elvis. I just found that kind of interesting, I'm not gonna lie. But let's keep going through this article. In this regard, he, meaning Presley, volunteered to make such information available to the Bureau on a confidential basis, whenever it came to his attention. He further indicated he wanted the director to know that should the Bureau ever have need of his services in any way, that he would be delighted to be of assistance. So there is evidence to show that the Elvis said to the FBI, if you ever want me to serve the country, to serve you, to help, I am your man, let me know. Elvis seemed quite passionate about his country, but there's nothing to show you that the FBI was like, yeah, we'll recruit you and you're in danger now, so we're gonna put you into the witness protection program, which makes it also difficult for me to believe that all these sightings were really Elvis, because if you're on witness protection program, you're not going around appearing in films and being so careless, in my opinion. But one last thing worth mentioning is that there was a singer who went by the stage name Orion, who sounded a lot like Elvis. After the death of Elvis, Orion's label made use of the passing of Elvis and pushed Orion forward and almost rebranded him as the new Elvis. They had him dressed like Elvis and had him wear a mask, which led to speculation on whether or not he was in fact Elvis. Some speculated that Orion may be Elvis's long-lost brother due to the uncanny similarities. Orion was placed up for adoption as a 2-year-old by parents Gladys and Vernon, the same name as Elvis's parents. However, they were 10 years apart, and there was a point in time where he took his mask off and he wasn't Elvis. So, you know, there goes that. A few additional things to comment. The Elvis Presley autopsy has been sealed, meaning we're not going to see the contents of it until I think it's 2027, which has added to the speculation that perhaps there is more mystery surrounding the death. In my very naive, simple viewed mind, it makes me just think perhaps their family just wanted to protect him a little bit and didn't want the whole world knowing all the details, which I very much would understand. But if anyone wants to know my opinion, if you haven't figured out already, I don't think Elvis faked his death. I think he died in 1977, but I don't think he's faked his death. What do you think? I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if there are any other interesting stories to be told, and thank you for watching, and until next time, bye.